channel mammals. I decided that since it's a sunny day, we should be outside for a change because we've been in the galley so much. And I'm just trying to introduce something to you here. We're going to see our last, well, pretty much our last video of preparation for the boxes that we made for the Patreon patrons. We have to think of a different name for these people. Anyway, I decided that I would tell you about the video just a little bit because evidently I just jumped into that video. I was just in the middle of making these tarts and then there was no beginning. So here I am to tell you a little bit about it. And also to hope that you'll hang on because I know we've been seeing lots of cookies and everything to do in the galley, and it's because in the winter it's kind of the place I want to be. But I think a lot of you are getting bored with that. so I'm just going to tell you about this video, and then you'll see maybe a couple more interesting little bits, and then we'll be moving on to other adventures, and I have some adventures planned. But first of all, I just want to tell you that what this video is about is it's about making mince tarts. Now, in America, we don't usually eat mince tarts. My family did because of our origins. But there's an interesting story behind them. Everybody says, mince tarts, what does that mean? Well, in England, people call ground up meat or offals or anything that's ground up, they call it mince. And way back, even in the Chaucer time, back in the days of the Crusaders, when the men would be going off into the wilds of Europe, they had to have food. And so at home, they would take minced venison or mutton or anything that they could find to grind up, any parts. In fact, mince meat, they call it. It's any meat that's, or any parts of things, you know. We used to laugh because we'd say, in sausages there's everything, even the eyelashes. and it makes you think, ooh. But, you know, whatever they could pull together. And then to keep it fresh, they would mix it with dried fruits and vinegar. So that was kind of like early chutney, if you will. Spices, whatever they could get in that way, which wouldn't be much. And then dried fruit. And that would keep the meat from just molding, I guess. And they'd be in a pie. And like, so that they could eat it, almost like a sandwich, but it would be cooked closed. And they'd take that off on their journeys and into the Crusades. And then, as the passages of many centuries, there was less and less meat. And when I was a girl, they were still using suet in the mince pies. And suet is the hardened fat of the animals. And I'm not even sure if they use the suet anymore. And so it's just mince tarts. And they're delicious, actually. And I didn't show you this in the video, but it's such an easy way to have mince tarts. You don't have to make the mince. You can, but they actually have, wait a minute, the sun is so nice today that I'm actually able to take off a few layers and enjoy the time with you and in the sunshine. So here. So I brought with me a couple of things I needed to show you. One is, this is in the regular markets all year round, I think. This is one of the brands of mince meat. See, they still call it mince meat, even though there's probably no meat in it anymore. And it has raisins and apples and currants and all kinds of dried things. And I add, so this is what I use as the base, and then I add to it, this is very important for you to know about this, because I would never suggest you using dried apricots unless you knew about the Blenheim apricots from California. The ones that you find in the markets, for the most part, in America are Turkish dried apricots, and they're about yay big, and they're kind of, they're hardly orange. They're just kind of pasty looking, and they're rubbery, and they're awful, and they have almost no taste. That is not an apricot. This is these are real dried apricots from California. And we used to dry them on racks up on our rooftops, and the whole rooftops of shingled roofs were all filled with apricots drying in the sun in the summertime. And it was funny. I might have told you this story. Stop me if I have. But I remember at one time, and all of the children in our family would do the cutting open, taking out the pits, and laying them in rows on these racks, and then hoisting them up on ladders up onto the rooftops. First, we would make a big, huge box, and inside of it was a coffee can in the bottom with sulfur, and the sulfur burned through the night. It didn't do anything to the apricots except that it put an aura around them, not really a taste at all, but it kept the bugs from wanting to sit on them and nibble all during the day. So the bugs didn't like the aroma of the sulfur. So, but this is, anyway, my mother said, oh, children, I will give you 25 cents for every rack that you finish today, each of you. And so these big racks, this big, and we get 25 cents. We were so excited. We never made money before, and it didn't really mean anything to us because where are you going to spend it out in the wilderness in the middle of an orchard that went on for hundreds and hundreds of miles? But we would open up the apricots when they were full and ripe. These are dried already, but I'm just going to try to show you how they looked when we would put them up. You see, we'd open them up. It wasn't like this. This is already dried. But you see, and we'd take the pit out, and we would lay them in all next to each other, row after row. They were this golden, buttery, especially after being in the sulfur, there's like a pool of the juice in the middle of each one. But this is a real dried apricot. So I add chopped up real Blenheim apricots from California, from Northern California, where we lived. And so that was one of the things that I wanted to correct for you. You can add apricots. You could even add walnuts or something like that chopped up in the mince. It would be wonderful. I don't think I did add walnuts, but it'd be great. And the other thing was I kept, by mistake, calling the almond paste, I just have the box of it here, I was calling it marzipan. And it's not marzipan. It's almond paste. It's very different. Almond paste, for instance, the first ingredient is blanched almonds. With marzipan, it's more of a confectionery. It starts out with sugar, and then it goes to cornstarch, and then it goes to almonds. So you see, it's really a confectionery. And these are just the blanched almonds, a little bit of sugar, and a little bit of water. And the box looks like this, and so does the box for marzipan. It's the same company, and you can probably get it from other companies, but this is what's in our grocery store, and it's year-round there. I just bought it today so that I could show it to you. And now I'm going to do a second time. You don't need to do this twice, but I like it. It helps to bring some layers. Oh, and also I usually sprinkle a little flour just to give it a sense of layers. There, like that. You can put another, just to make sure that there's a sense of separation, and that also helps encourage the
the rising in layers like it does.
Okay.
Now it's all rolled out, and we can just start cutting out. I just used a glass this time because I don't really have a round cutter that seems to be the right size for these. So whatever I found will maybe be right. We'll see. I think it's going to be okay. It's not as sharp as a cutter, but it doesn't really matter for this. There we go. And the rest we'll take care of in a little while. Okay, so first I have to put these into a shape here and push them into the bits of the corners. And then I'll roll out the almond paste and put just a little disc of it in the bottom of each one. So they'll look, when you eat it, you'll taste that almond between the mince and the pastry. There we go. All right, now I'll put the mince in. And there's no real amount that it has to be. This reminds me, I don't know if I told you this story, but remember I said there's no certain amount? And then I was also not putting them in order. You know, like dun, 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 dun. And it reminded me of this wonderful person who took care of us as children, just as a help, you know, a family help. My mother didn't work, but it just was extra support with 4 children. Everybody got a lot of time to be with this wonderful friend that we called Dee Dee. And she, I used to like to help her because she would put stamps in. There was a book called a green stamp book that she and her family had, and we didn't have it. I didn't know much about it, but I loved doing it with her because she never put the stamps in order in the book. She made different patterns by how she put the stamps in. It was so fun. It was so funny. It was so much more fun than just row after row, you know. There you go. These never stay quite how they look before they go into the oven, but they do look a little ruffly from that process. There you go. And now, I had already cut these out from the other night, but I ran out of time to use them all, so I thought, well, I'll just leave them. See, this is the shape. I thought I brought the little cutter over here. It's the same cutter I used for some other pastries recently. Some, what I called the gnarly biscuits. But aren't they sweet? They're like a little snowflake. And I cut the center part out with another little cutter so that they look more lacy than just a flat cookie cut. So this is puff pastry, commercial puff pastry. I'm just setting them on top here. As I'm doing so, I'm wondering if I should have put more mince, but actually the mince is so flavorful that to have more pastry than mince is fine. You know, it just will always taste amazing and just right. So the mince is mostly currants and raisins possibly, and spices like cinnamon and clove and nutmeg and all the wonderful winter spices, or the ones that we call winter spices for baking. There we go. And another one. And another one. So there we are. And then I always like to wash them with egg. And now I can paint it on. So I put it on all the pastry part. When we were children, we had a helper named Dee Dee, and she would come and take care and make up games with us and everything. She was just a wonderful person. And sometimes I would help her put stamps. And she used to have this thing called green stamps. We didn't have that, but lots of other people did. And it's just something that people would get in the shops, in the markets and things like that. And then they could put them in a book. And when the book was full, they could use the book to get camping equipment or anything that was interesting to them that was kind of extra fun things to get. And so she used to let me help her put these stamps in her book. But what was so interesting about Dee Dee is she didn't do it in straight across and fill the page that way. She would tear up the perforations of the stamps and put them in different patterns. Eventually it would fill up. But initially she would make like a hole in the middle, a window in the middle, and it was just a much more entertaining way to put stamps in a book than just to go row by row. Isn't that wonderful? I love that. I just love that idea. Well, the last time I put some coarse sugar on them, but then after I dusted them with powdered sugar, and so this time I thought, well, I think I'll just go straight for the powdered sugar, but that would be after they come out of the oven. And it's nice and hot already. So in they go. I'm putting them nearer to the top. And we have no idea how long they take. We just watch them. Okay, my friends, I'll come back to you as soon as they come out of the oven. And I hope maybe I can give you a taste. I have flour on my cheeks. Let's see how they're doing. Oh, my goodness. They look perfect. Look at them. Oh, look at them. Do you see what I mean about the regular pastry? How it makes layers. Just the way I make it. Because of the way, if you see, you can see it here too. See? And here. And isn't that amazing? It's just like almost like a puff pastry. Oh gosh, they're not stuck. I did put a little butter in the bottom because of the rust. I just thought maybe that would be the better thing to do, and it is. Whoop. And wait till you see them with the sugar. They just look like they dropped out of the heavens for the winter festival of Christmas and beyond. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and dust these with sugar now, because here's the caster sugar, just regular confectioner's sugar. I already dusted one and gave it to the gent that, his name is Nikolai, who lives on board Yankee here. And he was cleaning his cabin, and I just brought it out to him, and he was so thrilled. He doesn't speak any English, so we communicate through kind gestures like this. We made these trays, by the way, Richard and I. This is the sort of the cheapest kind of wood you can get. It's called press board. But I always loved the way it looks so much. I just thought it was beautiful. See how, isn't it great? There's our little crest. Oh, by the way, some people who want to get some of our things, they sometimes might seem disappointed because it doesn't say MacKenzie-Childs on the bottom. All that we use in our new work after MacKenzie-Childs was our crest. You see it? Oh, you can barely see it there. It's hard to see it with that dark wooden background because it's transparent. But anyway, so this is it. We made these beautiful trays. This is the old way that was started in the early days of, I think it was like Rococo period, when they started to make such heavy, elaborate carvings in their houses and their churches that they started to, come down because they were so heavy, made of stone or plaster, and then they got the idea of using the wood shavings, the sawdust from working in the wood shops, to mix it with hide glue, and then they were able to mold it. Then they'd make molds off of the original carvings, and they could mold it, and it was lightweight. And so these trays, and it's called composition because it's a composition of the hide glue and the wood. And so these trays are made out of that same composition. And also people of my mother's generation used to have dolls, composition dolls. They had china dolls, but then they couldn't really play with them the same way as children like to play to dress their dolls and things, and maybe fingers would break and noses would break off. And so then they started making composition dolls, which were much more practical, with layers and layers of glazing and paint. And so they had a beautiful little baby complexion. And so we had a composition doll. I'm going to put these on this tray. No, you know what? I love this blue one. I'm going to put this dust here. No, in here. Okay, so this, isn't that beautiful? I love it when the wood is stained with the bluish color. Oh, maybe this crest shows better? I'm not sure. The light isn't very good. Oh well, it's okay. So now let's put them on here without the rack so we can... Oh, and I also, when I served it to the gentleman, I served it on a doily, because that way he didn't have to bring a dish into us, a plate, return a plate in and all that. It's so nice for him to just have it and enjoy it. So I brought it out to him like this. And he has the biggest smile on his face. And there's something about doilies, paper doilies, and also beautiful linen doilies. But the paper doilies, they're such a fun way. You can get them easily, and it just makes everything a little bit more special. And people aren't used to seeing them so much in a domestic scene, maybe in a restaurant, but not so much at home. But I think it's a great idea, don't you? And I've been using them for years and years and years. And it always makes people sparkle. It's like, it takes their breath away for a moment. So anyway, I think they look really pretty on this tray.